I live in Hokkaido, Japan. Behind my house, there's an old well. It was already there when I moved in, and hidden behind shrubs and an old shed almost forgotten. For the most part, I ignored it. It was just part of the property, I guess, or at least that's what I believed. The area I lived in has always strange rumors attached to it. Like, people say it's haunted place. At night, sometimes distant sound can be heard, like voices or faint prayers carried by the wind. But I never gave it much thought until the well was scheduled to be closed. That's when things started to change. A few days before the ceremony, something unusual began happening. Like dogs from the neighbor started barking at night, but not in a random direction. Always toward my yard, that close to the well. Then I started hearing knocks at my door. At night, I would wake up to it. Low sounds like something hitting wood or stone from beneath the ground. Slow. Coming from outside, from the direction of the well. At first, I tried to ignore it, but when I saw something that made me stop, it was just before the sunset. I went outside and noticed movement near the well. At first, I just tried to let it go, but then I saw something that made me stop. It was just before the sunset. I went outside and noticed movement near the well. At first, I thought it was an animal. Something crouched low to the ground. But as I focused on it, the shape changed. It didn't stay still, it shifted, stretching upward, taking the vague outline of a person, but never becoming clear. I rubbed my eyes to see things clear, and then I just saw a shadow that refused to fully form, and then it disappeared. The next morning, I checked the area. The ground around the stones was wet, even though it hadn't rained in days. On the day of the ceremony, the atmosphere felt different, felt like heavier energy, like the air itself was pressing down on the yard. The priest arrived to perform the purification ritual. He didn't say much at first, but later he admitted something felt resistant, as if something in that place did not want it to be disturbed. Still, the ritual was completed, and the well was sealed. After that day, everything stopped. The barking, the knocking, even the feeling of being watched, all of it disappeared. But I still remember something. The priest said before leaving. He looked at the well for a long time, then turned away without explaining himself. Since then, I have never had problems again, at least not in the same way. The nights are quiet now, but sometimes when the wind passes through the yard, I still hear something faint, like distant voices, far away enough to almost forget. And I have learned not to go near the place where the well used to be. "6 years had passed since an experience that changed my life forever. During summer vacation, I was staying with my father and my sister at my father's house near the coast. One Friday afternoon, I decided to join a soccer match with some local people. The field was located on top of a small hill a few minutes away from town. The game lasted until evening. Afterward, I stayed talking with a group of friends until around 7 o'clock. Eventually, they invited me to join them for drinks at a local canteen, but I refused. I was exhausted that time, and all I wanted was to go home, take a shower, and get some sleep. So I left the field and started walking back alone. A crescent moon hung high in the night sky. The road was quiet. I had walked only a short distance from the field when a sudden cold breeze swept across the hill. The chill went straight through me. It felt unnaturally cold this time. Then something made me stop. I can't explain why. It felt as if the wind itself had called my name. I slowly turned around, and that's when I saw it. Standing in the middle of the road was a massive figure. Its body resembled a giant boar. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then it cried out. The sound that came from that thing is something I will never forget. It sounded like the cry of a woman mixed with the scream of a pig. The sound pierced straight through me. I felt terror, unlike anything I had ever experienced. Without thinking, I turned and I ran away. I ran as fast as I could. My heart stopped pounding in my chest. I could hear that horrible cry behind me. At one point, I tripped and crashed to the ground. The fall was hard enough to fracture one of my fingers, but I didn't stop. I got back up and kept running. As soon as I reached the edge of the town, I looked back. The creature stood motionless in that distance. Then something strange happened. Its body began dissolving into a fog like smoke. Within seconds, it disappeared completely. Only the memory of those red eyes remained. I never saw that beast again. But the story didn't end there. A week later, it was time for me to leave. That night, as we drove away, I looked out the window toward the road ahead. And there, standing beside the road, was a tall figure dressed in a black cloak. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. It wasn't moving. It was simply watching. I stared at it in disbelief. Then, as we got closer, the figure vanished into the night as if carried away by the wind. To this day, I don't know what I saw during that vacation. The creature, the cloaked figure, or why both had the same terrifying red eyes. But I know one thing. I was not imagining it, and I will never forget that night. Something happened inside this house, and no one who lived there can explain it. Now, let's hear what happened to them. My name is Javier Morales. I live in South San Francisco, California, not far from a place known as the City of Souls, a town called Calma, a place surrounded by cemeteries where it's said there are more dead than living. But I never believed in anything like that until I moved into this house. We moved in about 10 years ago. My wife, my children, and our dogs. At first, everything seemed normal. Just an old house settling, like creaks in the walls, strange noises at night, and then we ignore it. But it didn't stay normal for long, because simply doors would open on their own. Footsteps could be heard coming down the stairs when no one was there. Voices faintly coming from other rooms, and shadows moving across the hallways. At first, I tried to just let it go. Maybe it was my imagination. Until my dogs started reacting. Because one night, I remember, I was sitting on the couch with them. The motion sensor bathroom light upstairs suddenly turned on. Then the stairs began to creak slowly. My dogs froze. They were staring at the staircase, and then their heads started tracking something moving across the living room. I grabbed my keys and I left the house. But that wasn't the worst part. One night, I was watching TV in the family room. My daughter was playing with a laser pointer. I told her to stop. Then I saw a glow in the hallway. I thought it was her again. So I leaned forward and I asked her again, "Is that you?" But the shocking thing that she wasn't there. And instead, a soft blue glow was moving down the hallway, slowly, and inside it, something was forming, a shape of a man. For a second, I felt like I was daydreaming, or I would say hypnotized. Anyway, I don't know. I looked at it clearly, and it was inside an orb. A glowing sphere looked like a globe, and it was floating in the air, about 8 feet off the ground. At first, it didn't see me. It just drifted forward. Then it stopped and turned toward me, and I was in shock, with no clue of what happening in front of my eyes. Inside the orb was a man's head and shoulders. An elderly face, looked like a Roman-style hair, white beard, and a golden collar around his neck. It was calm, but also aware of his surrounded. And then it started moving toward me. I didn't feel fear at all first. I was just in shock, like my mind couldn't process what I was seeing. Then the room light suddenly flickered on, like bright fluorescent light filled everything. I looked away for a second. When I looked back, it was gone. But something had moved through the house. The motion lights outside had triggered, like something had gone through the back doors or through the glass. I sat there for a long time, trying to understand what I saw, trying to convince myself it was nothing. But then I thought about the house itself. When we first bought it, it wasn't like any other house. It was a divorce sale, meaning the house had been split into 2 living spaces, separate entrances, separate kitchens, and separate lives inside one house. After we purchased the property, those walls were removed and the house was restored, at least physically. Years passed, life moved on, but eventually, my own marriage began to fall apart. And today, my wife and I are separated. She lives upstairs. I live in the back of the house. Exactly like the couple who owned this home before us. The same house, the same arrangement, the same ending. Coincidence? Probably. But sometimes I wonder if there is something wrong with this house. The couple who lived here before us ended up separated and living apart under the same roof. Years later, my wife and I ended up doing the exact same thing. The same house, the same arrangement, the same ending. And sometimes I wonder if this house is the reason why. That's the end of our story. If you enjoy it, please like, share, and comment your thoughts below. We upload every Monday and Thursday. Until then, stay safe and I will see you again.